Vande Gujarat.
Hello, my name is Nisha Mehta. I'm the English trainer, functional English trainer with Scope. Welcome back to the Linguaskill Examination Speaking Module, Part 3. So in the earlier two modules, we spoke more about how to read, intonate your sentences, as well as how to give answers to simple questions that the candidate would be asked to. Now in the third module, we're going to speak more about, or we're going to learn more about what kind of questions will be asked in the speaking module part 3, or the third part of the speaking module. Now in this part, a topic will be given to the candidate, and the candidate will be given 1 minute to speak on the given topic. Now, what are the things that the candidate would need to keep in mind before and after or while attempting the test? Let's look at that. So we have part 3, speak for a minute on a given topic. This part tells the candidate will have to make sure that he or she speaks on the topic given. So the topic will be given without asking for a choice. There would be no choice in this. So the candidate will be speaking on a random topic that will be provided in this task. Now, we'll talk more about this part, but before that, we're going to talk about the format of this particular part. So speak for a minute. What is the exact format? Now, the candidate will be given 1 minute to speak. Apart from that, there will be 40 seconds given to the candidate for thinking and preparation. Now, initially, the topic will be shown on the screen, and the candidate will be given 40 seconds to go ahead, read the topic, and prepare for the topic. Now, once the candidate is done preparing the topic in 40 seconds, he or she has to present the topic in just a minute. Now, the topic usually will be based on the business or the workplace activities. It can be related to, the topics could be related to anything that you see at a workplace, that you see in the business, or maybe business related topics will be asked. So the candidate has to make sure that he or she is well versed with the business concepts or the business vocabulary. Now let's see how to attempt this particular test. The aim, now before we look at how to attempt this part, let's look at what is the aim of this test. The aim of this test is basically to test the ability of the candidate to speak for a longer time on a given topic. Now, in earlier two modules, part 1 and part 2, we have seen that the candidate was only supposed to speak for 10 seconds. However, in this particular part 3, when a topic is given to the candidate has to speak for a little longer time, which is 1 minute. Now, 1 minute when the candidate speaks, he or she is expected to speak appropriately or according to the topic. Now, there are so many things to keep in mind. Not just intonation, not just stress, but not just words to be used in the sentences, but the sentence structures and patterns too. Let's look at how to deal with this topic. Or let's look at how the candidates can prepare themselves to answer the questions asked in this particular section. We have some common instructions and tips that we provide at the end of each section, or maybe in the middle of the section. Here are some of the tips and instructions for part 3. It is mandatory to speak for a minute until the timer goes off, which is, I think, the key tip to give the exam, or maybe to this is actually the key tip that the candidate has to follow throughout the speaking module. Candidates should not worry even if they are cut off in the middle of the sentence. Now, most of the times, when the candidate is speaking, it happens that right in the middle of the sentence, the timer goes off. So you don't have to worry that, your sentences were not complete or you did not complete your sentence. It is okay even if you get cut off in the middle of the sentence. You would not be penalized. Penalized as in you would not be marked negatively. Let's look at the next point or next instruction or tip for this module. Do not use abbreviations while speaking. I think we have mentioned this several times in the previous modules and previous parts too, that while speaking, do not use abbreviations because it is a computer-based test and the computers at times do not pick up the abbreviated words. So if you're saying, I can't read a book, it is simple. Most of the times, the computer, it cannot pick can't. So you have to say the complete word, which is, I cannot read the book. The next point is, think and prepare. There has to be a preparation time. Think about it. The preparation time is given to the candidate, which is the 40 seconds time. Now, the 40 seconds time is to think and prepare for what you're going to speak in the given time. So the candidate gets 1 minute to speak. Now that 1 minute is there with you, what exactly you're going to talk? आप उस 1 मिनट के दौरान क्या बोलेंगे, कैसे बोलेंगे, ये आपको 40 seconds के टाइमर में डिसाइड करना होता है. So there are like 40 seconds to think what you're going to speak, how you're going to speak, how you're going to organize the sentences. Now there are so many things to keep in mind when you give this module in the examination. Part 3. Candidate can use simple to complex sentences. These are some general instructions and tips that we are discussing. We'll discuss everything in detail in the upcoming slides. Let's look at what is the basic instruction that we have. The candidate should use simple to complex sentences along with a wide range of vocabulary. Now, whenever you talk, whenever you speak on a given topic, a topic is given to you and you want to speak on it, you've prepared the topic, you have to make sure that you're not using too simple sentences. Now, this particular test, Linguaskill Speaking module, is testing the ability. The organization wants to know how much proficient the employee is in the business vocabulary. So when you're talking about, say for example, when you're talking about any topic for 1 minute, it has to be, we are going to discuss as in what are the topics you could be asked for. We'll look at the sample questions in the next couple of sessions. However, it is obvious that whenever you speak for 1 minute, you have to make sure that you speak relevant. There is relevance. Second, you cover all the points. Third, you have to use wide range of vocabulary and also make sure that you have the right sentences from simple to complex in your paragraphs. I'm going to talk about how to form simple sentences, how to form complex and compound sentences in the upcoming sessions. The next instruction is business or workplace vocabulary should be used wherever necessary. So wherever you think, you can put in a business vocab or a business related word, try to do that. For example, the word give. Instead of giving, if I use provided, that's more business related. So wherever you want to use the business vocabulary, wherever it can be used in your speaking, try doing that. Restrict yourself from using the casual vocab. The casual vocabulary will not fetch you or will not gain a good CEFR score. So to gain that score, to gain that proficient user badge, you have to make sure that your vocabulary is restricted to only business. casual or routine words will, or it should not be there in your speaking. Now let's move ahead and see what are some of the grammar instructions for this part. So apart from some general instructions, there are some grammar instructions too. Grammar instructions relates to how you have to form the sentences. When you form the sentences, what are some of the grammar topics that you have to keep in mind? आपको कौन से grammar topics अपने दिमाग में रखने हैं, इसके बारे में हम इस मॉड्यूल में बात करेंगे. So there are a lot of grammar topics. Now, what happens majorly is when people are appearing for the Linguaskill examination or for any other examinations, they have this common question in mind. The candidates have this common question or a frequently asked question in mind that when you talk about grammar, what are some of the grammar topics that we can do? What are some of the grammar topics that would be helpful to speak the sentences correct? Now let's see the first point. It says, to practice part 3, the candidate must practice different sentence structures or patterns. Now ranging from simple, compound, complex, ranging from simple, compound and complex sentences, every sentence should be formed when you're answering the questions. When you're forming a paragraph and you're speaking for 1 minute, you must take care that your sentences are not at all, all the sentences are not simple. They are a mix of simple, compound and complex. Now, what is a simple sentence? What is a complex sentence? What is a compound sentence? We're going to look at it in detail in the upcoming modules. The next grammar instruction we have is, candidate must focus on the tenses and the subject-verb agreement in the sentence. So when we talk about grammar accuracy, let's say we always talk about tenses, we always talk about subject-verb agreement. Now what are tenses? As we know that, whenever we talk, we are talking about a subject or we are talking about any topic, we have to make sure the present, past and future tenses are in place. When we talk about the tenses and subject-verb agreement in a particular answer, we see that the accuracy of the sentences, since it is a computer-based test, let's say that it is a computer-based test. Now the computers are well versed with the languages. It is well versed with the computer, the vocabulary, as well as the computers are well versed with the language, with any language, be it English or any other language. So what happens is when you try to use a wide range of vocabulary or you try to use wide range of sentences, the computer tries to pick up the sentences in its correct form. So whether it is present, past or future, the computer will pick the tenses accordingly and will mark its accuracy. So the accuracy depends on what and how the tenses have been used or the subject-verb agreement has been used in the sentences. So I'm pretty sure people who are appearing for this exam or the Linguaskill examination, you must take care of the tenses as well as the subject-verb agreement. Most of the times we do not focus while speaking in a flow, we do not focus on the subject-verb agreement. So if at all you think that your subject is not matching the auxiliaries or helping verbs or your verbs are not matching the subject, make sure you get it corrected, you get it rectified when you're preparing for the exam, so that you do not make any errors during the exam. Let's look at the next point. It says, prepositions and articles in the sentence should not be wrongly placed. Now, much before that, It is also said that, most importantly, we have another point which says, most importantly, the test takers should focus on organizing their answers. Now, organization, it is not about organizing the answers just in this section, in just part 3. You have to organize your answers throughout the speaking module. So speaking module has 5 parts. All the parts that you're going to answer, there should be organization, there should be cohesion and coherence, both. Now, preposition and articles in the sentence should not be wrongly placed. Why? Because obviously, when these small little words are wrongly placed, they change the meaning of the sentence. A simple sentence, to give an example, is the cat is sitting on the chair. Now, if I say the cat is sitting on the chair, तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? The cat, जो बिल्ली है, वो चेयर के ऊपर बैठी है. And if I say the cat is sitting under the chair, वो एक under और on ने पूरे sentence का मतलब बदल दिया. So the cat is sitting under the chair, मतलब वो नीचे बैठी है. And if it is on the chair, it is sitting on the chair, ऊपर बैठी है. So just a small little word can change the meaning of the entire sentence. Please make sure these words are never wrongly placed whenever you talk about or whenever you're forming your sentences, whenever you talk on a given topic. So this particular section or part 3 is all about talking on a topic. You will be provided a topic, the candidate will be given a topic on which he or she has to speak for a minute. However, there will be 40 seconds that will be given to you for preparation and thinking. Now let's look at the next grammar rule or the grammar instruction. It says candidates can use adverbs to bring transition in their sentences. Now, how do you switch from one sentence to the other one? हमें अगर एक सेंटेंस से दूसरे सेंटेंस पे जाना होता है तो हम किस तरीके से स्विच करते हैं? वो स्विच करना जो होता है, वो स्विच करना बहुत ही फ्लुएंट होना चाहिए. It should be very fluent and in a flow. It should not look like, there's one sentence which is a different sentence and it is combined with another sentence which is altogether a different sentence. ऐसा नहीं लगना चाहिए कि दो बहुत ही different sentences को आपने combine किया हुआ है. So in short, you have to make sure that your transition in the sentences is smooth. क्योंकि आप 1 minute के लिए बात करेंगे, 1 minute you're going to speak on this topic, on any topic that is given to you, that 1 minute will have maximum of say five sentences. The candidate will speak 5 sentences. So when you speak 5 sentences, those 5 sentences should be organized properly, should be relevant, and they should have coherence, cohesiveness. They should not be, different sentences from different places. Now, transition between these sentences can be shown, according to the grammar rule, it can be shown with the help of adverbs. Now, what are adverbs? Any quality that you assign to the verbs, they are known as adverbs. So if you talk about adverbs, how to remember that this is an adverb, or how would the candidate remember the adverbs, is just a simple rule that either they would tell the quality of a verb or an adjective, or they would end with ly. The words that end with ly, they are all adverbs. So they can be used. There are most of the words that do not end with ly, and that is just fine. You can use it. You can still use it. So the transition between the sentences, you have to make sure एक sentence से दूसरे sentence पे जाने के लिए आपको ज़रूरी है कि adverbs का इस्तेमाल किया जाए. Now, adverbs are also a part of business vocabulary. Business related communications जितनी भी होती हैं, most of the business related communications, it is very evident that there is more usage of adverbs. Now, some of the words, I'll show it to you on the screen, we have is. Most of the words, adverbs आप बहुत सारे जानते होंगे, but उनमें से कुछ adverbs आपकी स्क्रीन पर हैं, जैसे कि appropriately, similarly, respectively, hence, otherwise, on the other hand. So these are some of the adverbs that can be used to go from one sentence to the other sentence, to take up a transition. So transition, if you use adverbs, you will see that the sentences flow naturally. They come out fluently. You don't have to, there's no hesitation, there's no, nervousness when you speak the sentences or when you talk about a particular topic. So these are some of the adverbs that have been shared with you in this module. Apart from this, there are hundreds of adverbs that you can use in your sentences and transition the sentences. You can learn how to go from one sentence to the other sentence. And the transitions happen only with the help of adverbs. Let's move on to the next set and see what do we have. We have sentence patterns. Now, to crack or ace this exam, it is important that you know what kind of sentence patterns to use. There are basically 4 sentence patterns. However, we must take care of the fact that all the sentence patterns, if at all you are a beginner, and you cannot use all the sentence patterns in the given topic. At least use 2. Get a mix of simple or compound, get a mix of compound or complex, get a mix of simple and complex sentences if you cannot use all the 4 sentences. Now let's talk about sentence patterns in detail. Now, sentence patterns will not only help you ace the Linguaskill examination, but it is also going to help you ace any examination that you're giving for English proficiency. Now, let's talk about sentence pattern 1, which is a simple sentence. Now, what are simple sentences? Simple sentences are the sentences where you have the sentence that ends with a full stop, 1. The second rule says that the sentence has just one independent clause, or there's just one subject and one verb. So in short, when you talk about simple sentences, if at all you're not comfortable with the other sentence patterns or you're not comfortable with the complex sentences, you make sure that your sentences, simple sentences, are on point. So we have the examples given there. It says, I'm patient in listening to others. They are working together in the project. Do you see a difference? It's just a simple sentence with a subject and a verb. Let me ask you, what is the subject in the first sentence and what is the verb in the first sentence? It says, I am patient in listening to others. So, am being a helping verb and listening being a verb. I'm patient. Patient is obviously an adjective. So it is just one subject along with one verb which makes a simple sentence. Now, for example, if I say I eat pizza or we are working together in a project, we are working. Do you see that? We is a subject. Working is a verb. So there's just one subject, one verb, and that's a simple sentence. So if at all the candidate is not comfortable in the other sentence patterns, it is pretty obvious to use simple sentences to clear the examination. But make sure the simple sentences are spoken with exact clarity. They should be very brief and they should be to the point. They should be relevant. Let's move on to the next sentence pattern, which is compound sentences. Now, this is the second pattern, a little difficult than the first one. Because obviously, when we move towards the complex sentences, the difficulty level increases. So let's move on to the Compound sentences. What are these kind of sentences now? The sentences that has two or more independent clauses. Independent means independent sentences. Clauses actually refer to sentences. So if at all in a sentence you have two different independent sentences, that's the compound sentence. So for example, it says Mr. Smith Patel is an efficient employee of the company. Right? Now that's one sentence. Do you see that? It's one complete sentence. It says Mr. Smith Patel is an efficient employee of the company. The sentence ends. Then the next sentence starts after and. It says and a proactive person. So we have two independent sentences or two independent clauses in one sentence. That is what is a compound sentence. So if you think you would be comfortable using simple sentences and you would be comfortable in using compound sentences in your speech, go for it. Let's look at the other sentence patterns. It says pattern 3, which is a complex sentence. Now what exactly do you mean by complex sentences? Complex doesn't mean that, the sentences are complex or maybe they are difficult. They are the most difficult sentences in the world. No. The sentence that has one or more independent clauses. The sentence that has one or more independent clause as well as a dependent clause. Now what happens is, in a compound sentence, we see that both the sentences, or maybe there are two sentences with independent clauses that are independent sentences. However, in complex sentences, there are independent sentences as well as dependent sentences. Now, instead of the example that has been given to you here, I am also going to discuss one simple example that is going to help you with forming complex sentences. Let's see how do you actually go about forming complex sentences. Now, most of the times, if you use complex sentences in Linguaskill examination to answer your questions, you are going to get a higher score on CEFR. So let's see how do you form complex sentences or what are complex sentences. As I shared it, two or more sentences that are independent as well as dependent sentences. Now, the example says, although Mr. Patel is a bit skeptical, he is still overwhelmed. You see, we have, started the sentence with although. Although Mr. Patel is a bit skeptical, he is still overwhelmed. He is still overwhelmed is a sentence which is complete. The first sentence is also complete. The second sentence is also complete. However, there's one sentence which is dependent on the other one. Mr. Patel, although Mr. Patel is a bit skeptical. Now, do you think that this sentence, although it is complete, although Mr. Patel is a bit skeptical, there's something missing? The sentence is not complete. The sentence requires another sentence to get it completed. So that's the reason we have added, he is still overwhelmed. आपने देखा होगा कि दो sentences यहाँ दिए हुए हैं, which is although Mr. Patel is a bit skeptical, and the other sentence which is given is he is still overwhelmed. Now both the sentences, दोनों sentences complete हैं, लेकिन दोनों ही sentences में आप देखेंगे कि एक sentence ऐसा है जो दूसरे के ऊपर निर्भर करता है, dependent है. So whenever you're forming such sentences, you always make sure that your sentences do not fall prey using the words like although, still. बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि हमें meaning नहीं पता होता. We use conjunctions also to transition in the sentences, to do the transition. However, the transition of the sentences that we do in our speaking is not only with the help of adverbs. It is also done with the help of conjunctions. It is also done with the help of some of the other words. So when we do not know the appropriate usage, अगर हमें वो appropriate usage नहीं पता होगा तो कहीं ना कहीं वो sentence formation गलत हो जाएगा. नाउ इस सेंटेंस में एक सिंपल एग्जाम्पल मैं आपको देके बता सकती हूँ कि किस तरीके से एक सिंपल सेंटेंस को आप कॉम्प्लेक्स सेंटेंस में भी चेंज कर सकते हैं एंड यू कैन मेक द सेंटेंस लुक ऑल टुगेदर ब्यूटिफुल एंड डिफरेंट. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, if you say, I did not attend the office or I did not attend the meeting yesterday because I was not well. I did not attend the meeting yesterday because I was not well. Now there's this one sentence initially और वो दूसरा sentence उसके ऊपर dependent है because that is a reason. राइट तो वो दूसरा सेंटेंस जो पहले वाले सेंटेंस के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट है, यू हैव टू मेक श्योर कि वो सेंटेंस, if you know how to experiment with these sentences, you would also know how to use that particular sentence in a different way. Now if I have to say that, I did not attend the meeting yesterday because I was not well, this is just a simple sentence. However, I can make it a little complex. And how do I make it complex? Let's look at that. It says, because I was not well, I did not attend the meeting, or I could not attend the meeting yesterday. So the because that was used as a connector or conjunction in the sentence, जो एक conjunction के तौर पे मैंने बीच में इस्तेमाल किया था, उस पूरे sentence को मैं आगे लेकर आ गई. Just to make sure that I have a command over English language. And I can switch sentences accordingly. So instead of saying a simple sentence saying that I did not attend the meeting because I was not well, I just said because I was not well, I did not attend the meeting. Now similarly, if I have to play around the words, I can just remove because from there and I can use since. Since I was not well, I did not attend the meeting. ज़रूरी नहीं है कि मुझे sentences के साथ experiment करना है, मैं words के साथ भी experiment कर सकती हूँ. So this experiment shows that you are a proficient and expert user of the language. Now let's look at the last sentence pattern on your screen, which is the compound and complex sentence. Example, it says, now I'm going to give the example of the compound complex sentences because we have already explained what is a compound and what is a complex sentence. Compound sentence, we already said that it is the combination of two different independent sentences. And a complex sentence is a mix of dependent and independent sentences. Now if we mix both the kinds of sentences, we create a bigger sentence that is a mix of compound as well as a complex sentence. So there could be two or more than two clauses or two sentences combined together. So this is a little difficult to understand, but please make sure, just keep in mind that you have two or more than two sentences aligned in this, two or more than two independent as well as dependent sentences aligned in this kind of sentences. So for example, that's the example given there. It says, Mr. Smith Patel is an efficient employee of the company and a proactive person who takes quick and effective decisions on time to help in company's growth, or that's the need of an hour. Now, it's a big sentence. I will just break it down for you so that you understand how many different sentences are combined together. It's a compound as well as a complex sentence. So let's see how many sentences are combined together to make this kind of sentence. So it says, Mr. Smith Patel is an efficient employee of the company. That's the first sentence. Let's look at the second sentence, which is after and, which is after used or written after the connector, which is a proactive person who takes quick and effective decisions on time. So, Mr. Smith, being an efficient employee, he's also a proactive person who takes quick decisions. He is also a person who helps in the growth of the company. It says, helps in the company's growth, that is a need of an hour. So there are 2 to 3 dependent and independent sentences combined together to form such sentences. Now, why did I include this particular topic in part 3? Part 3 is all about, a topic will be given to the candidate, and it is all about talking on the given topic or speaking on the given topic. The first thing that you have to keep in mind, or the candidate keeps in mind, is that you have to stick to the question. Keep it relevant. Do not beat around the bush. Because see, we have limited time. It's just 1 minute. 1 minute, and you have to make sure that you complete everything. Now, there's one thing that I did not share it initially in this part, is that whenever a sentence or whenever a topic is given to you to speak on, you will see that there are prompts which are given to you in the questions or within the questions. So like, for example, if there is a topic given to you, and the topic says that you have to talk about your work experience in the time span of 5 years. Work experience in the time span of 5 years. So 5 years time span, you have to talk about your experience with the company. Okay? Don't just talk about the instances that has happened with you. Don't talk about unnecessary things that happened with you in the time span of 5 years. You have to stick to what the topic is saying. You have to stick to all the points that have been mentioned on the screen. So the topics, there will be a topic and there will be 3 to 4 pointers. Pointers means prompts that will be given to you, and you can form your answers on those prompts. So the prompts make it easier for you to answer the question. Now, let's move on to saying, okay, these are the sentence patterns that you're going to use in your sentences. But when you use these sentence patterns, it is not necessary that you use all the 4 sentence patterns. No, it's not required. You can choose even 1 or 2 sentence patterns that you're comfortable with. आप जिसमें भी comfortable हैं, वो sentence patterns को choose कर सकते हैं to speak your sentences. Now, it's not mandatory that, you will be marked low or you will not be given a good CEFR score if you do not use all the patterns. No. Whichever sentence pattern you're comfortable with, just pick it up, practice the sentences in the same patterns, and speak those patterns. However, it will be good, and you'll get a better score if you try to experiment with the patterns. Next topic that we have under this part 3, is idiomatic expressions. Now, what are idiomatic expressions and why do we need it? Why do you want to use it? Is again, as we said earlier, that this is a business speaking task. Linguaskill business examination or business speaking. Now, most of the times, there are sentences where you don't get that exact word to talk about. जैसे कहते हैं कि एक छोटी सी कहावत या एक छोटा सा कहना जो आप अपने, which is idiomatic expressions, छोटी सी एक कहावत आप अपने sentences में डाल सकते हैं. But make sure they are not slangs. वो ऐसे words नहीं होने चाहिए जो कि एक slang है. Now, idiomatic expressions, there are business related idiomatic expressions too. So what are those idiomatic expressions? Some of the examples have been listed here to help you form sentences with these expressions. Now, for example, you're answering a question or you're speaking on a 1 minute topic, you can make use of these expressions to get a higher CEFR score. Now, these expressions will be used in your sentences and they give weightage to your sentences. Let's just look at what are idiomatic expressions, some of the examples that we can use in our, there are tons and tons and many idiomatic expressions that you can find it online, you can find it in books, you can find it elsewhere. However, these are few expressions that are going to help you form your sentences easily. Also, when you use, there's a small little trick. When you use idiomatic expressions in your sentences, जब आप इसे इस्तेमाल करते हैं तो बहुत से कैंडिडेट्स ये नहीं जानते दैट idiomatic expressions एक एक्सप्रेशन ऐसा है जब आप यूज़ करते हैं उसे तो वो यूज़ करने के लिए आपको बड़े सेंटेंसेस फॉर्म नहीं करने पड़ते. उस एक्सप्रेशन का अपना एक मतलब होता है. वो छोटा सा एक्सप्रेशन आपने कहीं पर भी यूज़ किया तो वो मतलब ऑटोमेटिकली डिस्प्लेड हो गया, वो ऑटोमेटिकली दर्शाता है कि इसका मतलब ये है. सो यू डोंट हैव टू फॉर्म लॉन्गर सेंटेंसेस, you just say everything in a very short way. So let's look at some of the idiomatic expressions. It says the first one is cutthroat. Cutthroat is very intense. Cutthroat का मतलब होता है बहुत ही intense तरीके से. So if I say there is a cutthroat competition in the market, तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा competition है market में, right? So I used, now if you look at the sentences, you will also see that they are business related sentences. Whatever examples I'm sharing with you, with all the candidates, with you, whosoever is watching us, I would suggest to use the same or similar kind of sentences whenever you appear for the examination, because they are business related vocabularies, they are business related sentences or expressions that will help you ace the examination. The next idiomatic expression is go the extra mile. Now what is go the extra mile? It means that you're doing more than extra, or you're doing that extra thing for someone. More than expected. Somebody expected that you would do this, but you exceeded the expectation. So I always go an extra mile to help people. To help people grow in my organization. I go that extra mile. It's not that you're traveling. It doesn't mean that you're traveling. It means that you are going ahead of expectations, what is expected out of you, and you're helping the person or the organization grow. Let's look at the third idiomatic expression. It says, same boat. We're sailing in the same boat. हम सब एक ही कश्ती में सवार हैं. Right? When you're in the same situation, it says we're sailing in the same boat. It's a pandemic situation. So we're sailing in the same boat. That's an idiomatic expression. And instead of that, if I'm going to use a longer sentence, then possibly I would have to use more words. So instead of that, I just used a small expression, word of mouth, which is a very common expression. The word of mouth for the company just spread. Or maybe, small businesses spread through word of mouth. Uphill battle, again, a very common expression. And think outside the box, which is very common. So thinking outside the box, I'm sure everybody would know that this particular expression says that you are thinking out or differently. You're thinking out in a very different way, right? So let's move on to the next sample questions and answers under this section. Let's see how the questions will be asked to us and how do we have to answer the questions in the given time frame. So the most frequently, the questions and answers that we have put up here are the most frequently asked questions. Now, the first question says, how do you apply your strengths at your workplace? How do you apply your strengths at your workplace? Now, what happens is, this is the most common question that is asked in the Linguaskill examination. Do you see that the question has some of the prompts given? Now, the prompts given there is your strength and how it benefits the company or the colleagues. So, what the candidates can do before answering the question, if there is a prompt given to you, what you can do is, It is going to help you form your answer around that prompt. Now, for example, 40 seconds are not enough to think about forming an answer and to think about all the vocabulary. So what you're going to do? What you're going to do is you are going to look at the prompts and write down all the bullet points related to that prompt. Now, for example, if the question says, how do you apply your strengths at your workplace? Think about what is your strength. First prompt, think about what is your strength. Second, how does your strength benefit the company or your colleagues? How does it benefit the company or the colleagues? So you have to make sure you write down all the points related to your strength. And it's not about, now, since the preparation time is just 40 seconds, it's a very short span of time. So you have to make sure you just write the bullet points. Even if you're thinking and preparing, just write the bullet points because you would not have that time to write all the sentences completely. So just mention the bullet points saying, okay, my strength is, just write timeliness, punctuality, or maybe good in communication. And how does it benefit the company? That helps in growth. It helps in growth. Instead of saying it helps in growth or writing it helps in growth, just say growth, right? So once you're done preparing with your answer, please make sure that you put the answer in a very efficient way or organize your answer. Now let's look at the answer given there. I believe I am an efficient team player and a good listener. Whenever the organization or the team faces a challenge, I try to consult all the members of the team to come up with the best possible solution. I am always approachable and patient in listening to others, which makes it easier for my colleagues to share their suggestions, ideas, and even their problems with me. That's all from my side. Thank you. Now this is the answer. This is the complete answer that you're going to give with. Now even if you're going to give this particular answer whenever you're asked such questions in the same way. Now whenever you're giving this answer, even if you get cut off in the middle, for example, say you just got cut off, the timer just went off at the last sentence that says ideas or even their problems with me. अगर टाइमर बीच में ही बंद हो जाता है, इट इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट कि वहाँ पर आप ये ना सोचें कि आपको नेगेटिव मार्किंग मिलेगी. आप ये ना सोचें कि you will be penalized for it. No, you will not be penalized for it. It is completely fine. Till the time you have put forth your ideas, put forth your suggestions, and you have completed all the points, you've covered all the points in your answer. जब तक आपने सारे पॉइंट्स अपने आंसर में कवर किए हैं, जब तक आपने सभी चीज़ें कवर की हैं, it is just irrelevant to think about that you just got cut off in between. Now let's look at the second sample answer and question, which is frequently asked in the Linguaskill examination. Okay, which is the training course you recently attended for your job? Which is a training course you recently attended for your job? Now the prompt says, name the course, what made you attend it, and would you recommend it or recommendations? Will you recommend it to your friends, to your family, to your managers or anyone else? So what is one of the training courses that you recently attended for your job? So we're going to look at the answer, how we answered it. And you will also look at the sentences, the kind of sentences that have been framed to answer such questions. I recently attended a management and a soft skill course. Keeping in mind my current profile as a team manager, the course helped me deal with various challenges I face in a team. The course included topics such as time management, team building, problem solving, confidence building, and stress management. I would highly recommend the course to people who are looking for jobs or are working in a team, since it can prove to be highly effective for the growth of the company. Now, if you look at the answer, it is a little longer answer, which I think you will have to make sure that you do not take unnecessary pauses so that you complete the answer within the given time frame. Because the answers that you have to speak within a minute. 40 seconds, again, I'm repeating, 40 seconds you get to prepare, and 1 minute you get to speak. So these are two sample questions and answers that we have to give you an idea as to what and how to answer any question that is given to you. Now, apart from that, let's just talk about some of the things that you should keep in mind while answering these questions. Now, as I said, that it is a computer-based adaptive test. Linguaskill examination, it is a computer-based test and you can take it from anywhere. Anyone can take it from anywhere in the world. So whenever you talk about, जब भी आप बात करते हैं इस टेस्ट को लेने की और इस टेस्ट के लिए प्रिपेयर करने की, आप देखेंगे कि ये टेस्ट में when it comes to speaking module, all the instructions of the entire set, whether it is part 1, part 2, part 3, 4 or 5, the entire syllabus or entire curriculum, entire tips and instructions will almost be the same for every part. Just the dealing with that part will be a little different. Now, for example, we get the same timer for part 1 and we get the same timer for part 5 too. The timer varies with the kind of questions. The timer can be 10 seconds, the timer can be 20 seconds, the timer can be 1 minute. Always make sure that whenever you try to prepare for the exam, you have to stick to the timer. Do not try to just keep speaking, or maybe every time you just cut off in the middle of the sentences. Don't do that, because what happens is it shows that you're not punctual, or it shows that you're not prepared to speak within the time limit. Now, the timer is given to you so that you be relevant in answering your questions, stick to relevance, as well as you stick to the timing goal, so that the things that you want to convey in your answers is appropriately or conveyed respectively. Now, moving on to when we answer the questions in set or in this section, this part, we always make sure that the answers are grammatically correct, because we spoke about sentence patterns and sentence structures. Sentence patterns and structures, if at all appropriately you want to use it in this particular section, you have to make sure that you utilize the 40 seconds time. The 40 seconds time is not only to think about the points. Now, there's one more thing that there's an additional tip that the candidate can follow. The candidate can adapt or can adopt the theory of the storytelling. You can adopt the storytelling method. When you're answering the question, the 1 minute, when you're speaking on a given topic for 1 minute, always make sure that you're narrating a story. For example, even if somebody tells you that, you are asked a question, what is the recent course that you have attended? You can always, instead of, if you have mentioned all the bullet points, you can just go ahead and narrate a story. It's not about, speaking accordingly or speaking as the situations have happened with you. No. Just go ahead, narrate a story. Adopt a storytelling method. So like this happened, for example, you attended a course. When did you attend it? What course did you attend? What was the content in the course? Will you recommend the course to anyone else? Or did you like it? So these are some of the questions that you have to answer. All right. So in this module, we learned majorly about how to answer the 1-minute task. 1-minute task. Now there are a couple of things to remember. Just a couple of things. Again, I'm repeating. Make sure that you stick to the timer. Second, your accuracy in grammar and sentences is maintained. Third, you have to make sure that a wide range of vocabulary words are used, especially business-related vocabulary. Third, you can also go ahead and use the idiomatic expressions. Fourth, you can always make sure that you adopt a storytelling method instead of just explaining things. Fifth, do not forget to intonate your sentences. Put appropriate stress and rhythm wherever necessary. So this was all about part 3 of the speaking module. Now, in the next session, we would talk about the graphic related things, because you would be given graphics and you have to answer the questions given or based on the graphics. So this was it from my side in this particular module. We'll meet in the next module and talk about the graphic related things. Thank you.